Hey guys, it's Carolyn. Welcome back to the podcast where we talk about all the ways not to get screwed in the construction industry. And numbers is a big part of that. Knowing your numbers, making sure that you're making money, collecting your money, all of that is hugely important. And so today I have a numbers expert with me, Miss Elizabeth Taylor from Beyond Book Solutions. And she's here to talk to us today about mid-check-in, mid-year check-in, and some other key points on managing your money in the construction industry. Good morning, Elizabeth. How are you?
Good morning. Doing good. Excited to be here. Thanks for inviting.
So before we dive in, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to be where you are now.
Well, I started the business about 5 years ago. I got my master's in accounting, thought I was going to be working for big corporations, but I ended up living in a very small town and I really wanted to be a mom. So when my little one was born, I'm just like, I just can't get her, to daycare. Like, I want to take care of her. So I decided to start a business and it's been quite amazing. My first three clients were in construction, so I figured it's fate and I just gotta concentrate on one thing only. And I absolutely loved working with these guys and learned a ton through trial and error. You might know accounting very good, but when it comes to construction, it's a whole other animal.
Absolutely. Did you have any other background in construction or just your first clients?
No, I had a background in restaurant business. Been doing that for 10 years before. But yeah, no,
Gotcha.
not in construction, but within 5 years, I've now worked with almost 1,000 different businesses in
Really.
construction.
And construction really is kind of its own animal. It's different business wise than everything else. Okay, so we just passed the halfway point of the year. What kind of check-in are you doing with your clients at this point?
Well, we do check-ins with our clients on a monthly basis, so we don't really have quarterly or half a year. It's more of we involved, we're a part of the team with them, and every month we just look at the reports to make sure they understand where they stand, really, because it is very surprising the percentage. They even did a study, the percentage of construction company owners that do not look at their financials or they don't have them accurate. So they don't even have the financials to look at, even if they wanted to. But so my biggest thing, like, yes, we can do bookkeeping all we want. Yes, the records will be accurate. But if the owner doesn't understand what it all means, they're looking at, statement of cash flow, profit and loss, balance sheet, and they're like, okay, so what? And that is where we come in and we explain the percentages, the markup versus margin, the budgeting, and we look at the job costing per job, all of those things. We kind of develop strategies on what they should and should not be doing because we don't do taxes. I'm not focused about saving on taxes with clients. I'm focused about them making so much money at the end of the year that they get so scared that they're going to pay so much taxes. And then they should talk to tax strategists about that. But my biggest concern is I want your profit margin to be right up there where you need it to be.
So when you're doing your monthly check-ins, what are you looking at? What reports are you looking at?
The biggest reports are profit and loss, of course, to get your percentages straight on your direct cost, your overhead, and see where you're at with your net profit. And those percentages can tell a big story because every single deviation from achieving your ultimate net profit margin can it can mean a lot of things. So there could be like different strategies per each deviation. Then, of course, we would look at your balance sheet to see how you're doing on your assets, liabilities, and equity. Statement of cash flow is the big one because a lot of times my guys would say, well, how come I made so much money and I have nothing in the bank? Like, well, bank account accounting is different from what you actually have because you didn't account that you have 6 loans that you're paying every month. And oh, by the way, you owe your subs 50 grand, and you haven't been paid on these invoices 200 grand. That's not something your bank account is going to show you. And that's why you need to look at those reports. Also, very important one is anything that is project related, budget versus actual, your profitability by project, all of those details you have to compare, especially when you're a fixed price contract. You have to see like what you budgeted versus what you actually spend, because if there's a problem in the estimating and you don't look at it till the end of the year, it's too late to fix anything within the year. So you got to be constantly evaluating your projects. And even with cost plus, if you're not tracking every single expense, you don't get reimbursed for it. And then you're losing money. You're basically paying for your client's projects. So you have to watch every single project's reports too.
So are most of your clients residential or commercial, or do you have a mix?
I have a good mix. I would say a lot of home builders, remodelers, a lot of real estate investors, because they like to create construction companies separate from their development or real estate LLCs. We work with a lot of commercial clients as well.
Gotcha. So from your experience, is there one that's more profitable than the other?
I would say yes. I would say luxury remodels or luxury home building, because it's a different client you're dealing with.
Gotcha.
And those types of clients, they don't price shop looking for the cheapest version. And that's the clients that value quality, good communication, speed. All of that is so important to them that they would like to go with a person who will deliver those results that they're looking for, and they're willing to pay for it. And that is where the construction company is thriving.
Gotcha. That's interesting. So for someone who doesn't have like job costing set up, what are the first, how do you do that? Like if you don't have any idea how much your jobs are costing, how do you set that up? What are the first steps in doing that?
I would say it all depends on your budget. If you are just starting out, first year in business, I would say QuickBooks Online is the perfect place for you to go, because QuickBooks Online, even though it's a software for any business, if you have the right setup done for construction, you can get a lot done. All of your estimates, progress invoicing, billables, your budget versus actual, cost codes, invoicing, all of that is available in QuickBooks Online if you know how to set it up and use it correctly. If you are more seasoned professional and you have a huge team of employees, especially hourly and house employees, that you have to track their time by project, you have to communicate within the team, you have project managers, you have subs, like you have a large amount of people to kind of manage. That's where I would advise to get project management software. And there's so many out there. I mean, for any budget, any purpose, and well, pretty much all of them sync with QuickBooks Online.
Gotcha.
Because as I say, like financial side, QuickBooks Online is okay. You can get a lot done. But if you need that project management side, scheduling, communication, documents, all of that comes with project management software that also has a financial side to it. Although I haven't found a good project management software that would have great reporting capabilities like QuickBooks Online does. That's why I like to sync both, do job costing in both, and then pull most of the reports from QuickBooks Online.
So job costing is taking everything like direct cost from the job, right? It doesn't include profit and overhead.
You basically, yeah, that's exactly it. Your markup is your overhead and profit, and that is what you're kind of tracking in the QuickBooks Online, so you could adjust your markup according to what you have going.
And what is the average markup you're seeing? Does it vary? What do
Oh,
you have
it
going
absolutely
for?
varies. You know how a lot of construction guys are like, "Well, I can't charge that much. It's not an industry standard where I'm at." To be honest, like I have such a mixed feeling, because I know I have the guys who are successful and they were like, screw industry standard. I have my numbers. You got to look at your numbers all the time and see, because not everyone is the same. You might be paying a different insurance than the other guy next to you who's doing the same type of construction, but they
Mhm.
have different setup of guys, Some of them don't even have labor and payroll. Some of them have different insurances. The materials quality. I mean, everything varies so much. You cannot assume the same markup. So for the people who are telling me nobody's going to hire me, I say go learn some sales skills and marketing skills, because what you're getting right now is price shoppers, people who don't care about the quality product that you provide. You have to honor the product you provide, and you can't survive if you're charging 15% markup and your overhead is actually 20%. Guess what you have for profit left? -5%. And if you think that if you're charging 50% markup, you think you're going to get 50% profit margin, then you have to understand the difference between markup and margin. 50% markup will never yield 50% margin. So that 50% is not what you're going to keep.
Because it doesn't take into account overhead.
Hmm. Not only overhead, but also what you take percentage out of. So that if you want to get 50% profit margin at the end, you have to charge 100% markup.
Gotcha. Got it. And so for your guys who stuck and said, these are my numbers and I'm sticking with them, so this is what I can make money. Do they still have business? Are they still in business?
They are in business. They're struggling. They're not growing. The only time that I did have someone do good on that is when they decrease their overhead percentage by going very aggressively on increasing sales. Yes, the bigger sales, and if you have the same dollar amount on the overhead, is the percentage of it is going to be lower because your income is higher. And so, of course, your bottom line is going to be a little bit higher and you don't have to charge as much of a markup, but that is very hard to do as well.
Hmm. So what are some of your secrets for mastering cash flow in the construction industry?
Oh boy, that would be a lot of things. I would say, first of all, it's about your contracts and invoicing. A lot of guys have their own contracts in place that don't outline, if you're a fixed price, what are your product progress payments? If you're cost plus, when are you going to be billing them? Um, a lot of guys are so busy and they're so excited about creating that they talk to me and they're like, you know what? I haven't had time to invoice in like a month. I'm like, well, that explains why you don't have money in your bank. Don't you think you need some money to cover your subcontractors, And I understand that guys have, like, how they say that you wear 17 hats? That's not 17. Like, sometimes it's way more than that. And I totally understand how busy you can get, but invoicing your clients has to be a priority, and you have to put late fees on it. You have to put deadlines. You need to be very straight in your contracts on when you're and how you're going to get paid. Another one would be probably creating a budget. That's a big one. Just like you do budget for each project, you also need to do the budget for your whole company and try to stick to it. Otherwise, it would be just hard to manage what's going on in the business, and you wouldn't be able to know where your money went. So really, I mean, you also need to control payables too. That's a part of your cash flow. If you have a lot of people you owe and you have no money to pay them, that would be a problem. You have to align your payments also with your cash inflow to avoid cash shortages. I have a lot of guys who have been, spending their own money, basically being a bank to the customer,
Mhm.
and then asking to get reimbursed huge sums of money and then wait to get reimbursed. I mean, that is it's impossible. If you're going to do that, might as well charge percentage, because that's what banks would do. I
Mhm.
mean, that is a hard one. Getting a deposit from a client is very important. And just said, I understand that when you deal with banks financing, it's a little bit harder, but that brings us out back to the conversation of who is your ideal client, right?
Mhm. And not taking jobs just to be busy if you're not going to make money on them.
Exactly.
All right. So, what are some of the biggest money mindset blocks you found in the construction industry?
I would say number one, money wise, is underestimating project complexity. A lot of times I see underestimated projects just to win the projects, not accounting for some potential risks involved in the projects, or overestimating the ability to complete the projects, with the deadlines and budgets. Another one that I see a lot is prioritizing like short-term profits over long-term growth, especially when they're cutting costs in ways that can compromise the quality of the products. That creates a lot of issues. And I would say, like, resistance to change. A lot of the guys, they're excited. Like, every time they hire us, they're so excited about working with us, and this is going to be changed for the better. Let's build out systems and processes because I'm huge on that. Yes, let's do it. 4 months later, I haven't heard anything from them. They disappeared. They got so busy that they are like unable to get us the right information, unable to follow the processes. Um, and then they come back to us and say, yes, well, besides being busy, I have a little bit, mindset issue here. And, the new software that they decide to implement, and then they don't have anyone to help them set it up correctly and being used correctly. So it's, that adaptability, those changes sometimes are hard.
I understand. So, tell me about your favorite client success story.
Um, Man, there's a lot. There's a lot. I'm so excited for everyone. I would say, well, let's do the latest one. The client reached out to me, and after we talked, it was very much clear that they needed help. It was a husband and wife, and they are building custom homes. And they have been doing about 1 to 2 projects a year.
Hmm.
That definitely wasn't enough, but that was all they could handle. And they were charging only 15% markup on their projects, and
Oh,
they were hardly making any money. They couldn't understand why they don't do money. They didn't never did job costing. They did Excel spreadsheet accounting. So a lot of things to fix, which got me super excited. And they're like, well, we don't think we can afford your services. So I'm like, well, you got to decide if that change is a now thing and how important it is. And you got to decide if you can commit to it. So they decided, yes, we're going to commit to it. We started working together. We did our monthly calls. We did job costing, set up all the process. They were very responsive. That's why I love when the wives are involved because the guys
exactly.
are so busy. But the wives, oh, I love them. They're always in communication, delivering everything we need. And they have been following the steps. They have been getting us information. We were able every month to look at their financial reports and develop strategies compared to what we see. I was telling them, hey, this percentage is off. These are the 3 reasons they're usually off. You need to start adjusting all 3 reasons and see which one yields results. Well, the biggest issue was their markup, of course. According to our calculations, I told them they need to go minimum 35%.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
Oh,
huge jump for someone to go, and he's like, you're crazy. We're not going to make any business. I'm like, can you just try it? Just one project for me. So then they come back the next month, and they said, last month we sent out 4 bids with 35% markup, and all 4 were accepted, no questions asked. He's like, I cannot believe we haven't been doing it the whole time. He's like, I am so mad at myself that I didn't let myself try it. And now they're doing like 5 to 6 projects a year. They're making healthy profit margins. They're still in contact with us, delivering all the information. We're tracking everything, to make sure that their estimates are correct. He started valuing his work. He started hiring quality team members and subcontractors, not the cheapest labor he can find. I mean, it transformed the whole business.
That's great. I love to hear stories like that. So you talk about system and processes. What kind of systems and processes do you set up for your clients?
Oh, there's a lot of them. We start with just finding out really what has been going on in detail, what kind of resources we have, what kind of software we're using, what kind of who is involved, who can help us with the information and everything, who's doing what, when, and how, basically. That's what we start with. There's a lot of processes on accounts payable, accounts receivable side, the payroll side, the weekly receipt management and bookkeeping, um, and then the process of budgeting. I mean, it all depends what the company needs, but as as a business owner, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people can relate. There's so many little parts to the business, and if it's all in your head and you have no SOPs in place, no people helping you, you don't automate it with software, don't delegate things, there's no way to grow. You have to have a process for your marketing, for your sales, for your admin. I mean, you name it. If you don't have a process, you better sit down and work on it. I know it takes a ton of time at first, but it will save you a ton of time later.
No, absolutely. And so I know a lot of guys, especially that they don't have degrees, college degrees, or they've kind of learned in the field, and they're intimidated by profit and loss balance sheets. How do you break that down for them so they can understand it?
Oh, we just talk plain language. Yes, if you start saying, oh, the percentage of accounts receivable, this and that, they're like, oh, okay, slow down. What does this all mean? You just start plainly talking to them like a normal human, not an accountant, and you go, see this percentages? See this dollar amount? Like, it says that you made $10,000 this year. Is that okay for you? I assume it's not. So let's make a change. I unfortunately or unfortunately, my background is that um I'm usually straightforward, like short and on point.
I think
And
that's what the
feel like
construction industry needs. I mean, that's
I feel like that's why a lot of guys like to work with me, and I love to work with them too. Don't get me wrong, I have a lot of ladies in as my clients, and I love them all. It's just I feel like guys appreciate short, on point, let's get to it, and that's how I like to function. That's where I'm like I'm giving them simple explanations, simple strategies. Go apply this markup. I don't care if you add it to all materials, labor, and everything, or you add it at the end. I don't care if it's cost plus or fixed price. Go get that deposit. It's easy. Everything, it's simple. It's not easy to accomplish because you got to do all these steps, but it's simple.
Mhm.
So they overcomplicate things a lot. A lot of people, we all tend to overcomplicate things, but in fact they're very simple.
No, I agree. And sometimes they're almost looking for permission, like, well, they don't know what to do. But if you tell them it's okay and it's going to be okay, at least they'll try.
Yeah, I feel like all of us need that reinsurance. I mean, I have a business coach, right? And he likes to ask me a question which I really like. What do you pretend not to know? I'm like, okay, fine. Every time I ask him a question, and then I'm like, fine, yes, I know I gotta do this thing, and I have a mindset block, and I haven't done it. A lot of my guys are the same way. They're asking me questions. I'm like, what do you pretend not to know? Because we have discussed it last time. You know exactly what you need to do, but you're not doing it because you have some sort of mindset block. You need to work on it and just go get it done.
No, I agree. It's never just only business. It's, you as a person too that is coming into this business. So tell us about the different services you offer.
Well, our main offer is that we are becoming a part of your team. We're with you, taking over your QuickBooks. We're helping you with any project management software that you're using because we've been working with probably 20 of different ones. And to be honest, they're pretty similar.
Mhm.
Um, so we're basically taking over your financial side of things. We're with you on a weekly basis, doing job costing, doing regular bookkeeping. We are reconcile your accounts. And the biggest thing, we provide advice at the end of the month where we send you the reports. We can talk about them, get some strategies going, and throughout every day, you can just reach out to us with any questions. So that has been the most helpful. We also help clean up the books or catch them up for any years back that you need. We set up systems and processes, and the biggest one is set up QuickBooks for construction industry. If you contact Intuit and you ask them to help you set up for construction industry, I mean, I can't believe it, to be honest. Like, they need to put the right people in place because they didn't get anything done for my guys. That's why they come to me and they're like, I feel like you're the only person like I can find on the internet that like can do this. So we set it up for them, especially if they use, Buildertrend, JobTread, Procore. It's the whole other story as well. You got to make sure you understand how to use that setup as well. So we train them on what we've done and how to use it.
Gotcha. So if people wanted to find out more about your services and more about you, where would they go?
Um, I have a lot of social media. On Instagram, I am at construction accountant. I got a YouTube channel. I think it's just to my name. Could be Beyond Book Solutions. I gotta check that. It's either Elizaveta or Beyond Book Solutions. I think if you Google either, you will find me there. There's a lot of helpful information on my website. You guys should go to beyondbooksolutions.com and go to the free resources. I just created such a good guide. It's got not just, a couple words here and there about what you should do, but there's actual attachments to it. The cost code list, the chart of accounts list, the budgeting spreadsheet that you can customize to yourself, explanations, margin versus markup. I mean, all of that is in there. If you go to free resources, you can get that. I got a lot of good comments that it's been helpful for a lot of people.
Awesome. And we'll put all this in the show notes. I'll have links to it. So, well, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for having me.